So I'm making this video as a brief reflection um, on the issues that I've faced so far trying to get my certifications as a psych. And the biggest issue is that I'm smarter than most of, or if not almost all of the people who are going for the same certifications. I'm smarter than the lecturers, I'm smarter than the people who run the systems for the certifications. I'm smarter than the people at the registration agency. I'm smarter than the CEOs in these companies, and I understand what's going on deeper and far more quickly than they do. And that is terrifying because I'm also very ethically minded and I understand the consequences of their bad behavior and their inability to understand what the fuck is going on. This first started when I was completing my honours degree in psychology at the University of Southern Queensland. Before I'd done this, I'd done my postgraduate diploma in psychology through Monash University, which is a group of 8 university, and it's a very, very difficult program. It's the content, it fulfills the learning outcomes of the Bachelor's of Psychology degree, but it's assessed at a master's standard. They have to do that because they're working with very bright people, people who have already completed a degree, and they're a group of 8, so they've got that pretension to them, and it's also a group of 8 university online, which means that they need to increase the intensity even further, because that way they maintain their superiority of being a group of 8 university while having an online program. I then did my honours degree at USQ, and it was like being first year again, and it was just so silly. Like the standard of the training and the teaching, and how the marks were assigned made no sense. It was very clear that it was done this way in a way that allowed the assessors to make decisions based on what they believed performance was without actually having criteria for measurement. At Monash, because they had as a result of having a high volume of students going through the system, and these having multiple classes running the similar courses at the same time, they had this ability to have to really figure out how to get the course to a high standard, because they just had volume. So every time they were doing the course, they got feedback, they figured out how to improve it, and over time it got very good. Not at USQ. USQ was plagued with politics at the very basic level, and Andrea, who was one of the absolute horrific individuals in running the program, wanted to keep it in such a way that she was able to manipulate the grades of students so she could decide who would go on to higher levels of study or not. She didn't want to have criteria for assessment. She didn't want to meet APAC accreditation standards because the degree did not meet APAC accreditation standards. So I ended up having to spend a year of my life as the most junior person learning how to play politics at that university, and restructured the entire program, which I did successfully. I ended up, after having many meetings with the head of school, around 30,000 words of email, and getting all the assessors in from across Queensland to check out the course. We were able to rewrite the curriculum. They did a lot of different stuff to it. It's going to have deteriorated now because the actual issue, which was Andrea's leadership and other people's leadership in that organisation, and a lack of policy, it's going to have deteriorated by now. But that was the first time I did that, and that continued on until I was working at IPAR, where I find, and still working with this in dealing with the bullshit at USQ, because that affected so many students. So many very bright people weren't able to continue on their careers because Andrea wanted to be able to feel powerful, and she wanted to be able to manipulate results. She wanted to be secure in her authority, and she wasn't interested in doing the work of psychology, which is the scientific process of measurement, the most important measurement they were making, which directly impacted people's lives, were the grades they were assigning, and it was just their opinions, right? It wasn't even a professional opinion. In Andrea's case, it was very much a political opinion. And that's, well, I'll be very glad to see her head roll one day, but it's not going to happen. She seems to be very entrenched in the politics and psychology in Australia. So that happened. I did that. Then I go to IPAR and I find that I'm being asked to do fake qualitative research to kick people off insurance payments, and I understand all the incentives that pay, and the other people around don't seem to get it either. And so it's just always this thing where I'm too fucking smart for my own good. My life would be so much easier if I was a dumb cunt. But unfortunately, I know what the fuck is going on, right? So again, that happens, right? I have a relationship with my boss which is very unfortunate for both of us, because unfortunately, we're just identical. She's just the evil version of me. She's like, I'm Luigi, she's like Luigi or something, right? So she fucks that thing up. I then end up working at Catholic Care. In that situation, I'm just so frayed, and the years of abuse start weighing down on me. I've got this snapped hand which I can't get fixed. I've been persecuted at 2 different institutions for being smarter than them, than than my colleagues, than my leadership, than all of it, right? I find that they're doing dangerous shit. And I find myself in this situation where I've got this dickhead of a leader, right? And Peter is by far, of all the people I've worked for, he is by far the most stupid, right? Actually, no, Sarah Samuel, she's more stupid. But just the lack of agency and the lack of critical thought. He just got what someone else came up with. Like, he was capable of being a drone. That was it, right? And I'm a junior psych. I'm meant to be trained to be a therapist, and he just does fuck all, right? He wouldn't know how to train a therapist. That's the worst thing. Like, he's spent all this time doing all this work, like training himself, and he's able to provide therapy. He's not useless in that regard. He's not a bad practitioner as a practitioner in and of itself. He might even be a very good practitioner. I've heard good things about him. Just because I have an issue with his leadership doesn't mean I think he's complete, every aspect of him is terrible. I enjoyed some of our chats. But, the cunt, just he gets me, and he's got this thing for schema therapy, and schema therapists as a cohort, they're nerds who've latched onto something which is a lot of fun, right? Because the ideas in schema therapy are very interesting. But it's not the first modality that you teach anyone. The industry standard has always been CBT, even though I don't particularly like it. It's not my favorite modality, but it's the most evidence-based. And when someone's referred to see a psychologist for the next 20 years until ACT and DBT get established completely, it's probably still going to be a CBT. Because that's what the public know, and that's what they want, and it works, even though it doesn't work for everyone and for every problem. And then I have fucking Gemini stalk me, and of course at this point my ability to be around women has been shot because of the issues with Roxanne, and that was just a tragic relationship and a tragic situation, asking me to do fake qualitative research, and me just not doing it. And me just being fucking hounded. And that's happening. And then finally, end up working with Don, who's just the blowhard fuckwit. There's no need to think about that. But worst of all, at Care Squared Kids, where this is my thing. My interest is in economic history, and I'm now working at a company which is a historically bad criminal, and borderline criminal, if not actually criminal, because there was one offense which I did find one case of overt fraud. But in general, this company, which has just done like stealing so much money effectively from the NDIS, is playing this game, and I understand all the incentives and all how it's working, and me at the lowest point being asked to commit what is really like it is white collar crime, being required to commit white collar crime across the community, and whilst having to take care of my participants. Now, I haven't been able to certify as a psych. I haven't been able to certify as a psych because I'm fucking smarter than these cunts, right? Like, if we're looking at a degree of certification and like what it's meant to be, like there has to be like, I don't know, come up with a new title or something. Not psychologist, not psychiatrist. Like if that's what we need to like get a little bit of to reflect on, to be able to see someone and go like, okay, that guy knows what he's talking about. Come up with some new and interesting title for me, something which reflects the fact that I'm smarter than all of these people, right? First psychologist, maybe. Let's go with that one. Like, and the worst thing is because I've had all these issues and conflicts, people think I'm shit. And it's not that. I'm just fucking way better than that. Anyway, rant over. This one's for me, but I know some other fuckwits are gonna watch it. But yeah, that's it. No, I've had these issues because I'm smarter than them, not because I'm dumber. And it's been a real issue for me, right? Anyway, that's why I drink. I need to knock some IQ points out. It's so far it's working to limited success. Anyway, that's my rant.